Oh, okay.
I'm just waiting us to be live streamed again before I call the meeting back to order.
Okay.
Okay, we are live streaming again. I'm going to call the meeting back to order. And Sue, are you the one with the resolution?
Yes, I am. So through the chair, that council directs staff to respond to Mr. Rusek's letter recommending that he follow up with the abutting owner, Edmansky. Whether land can be acquired as a lot addition to the applicant's property and or a right of way from the applicant's property to Grouse Road. And further that the applicant demonstrate to council that they can provide equal or better access to Dam Lake as per requirements of bylaw 2013.
Okay, could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Schulis, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on that resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that you were able to draft that for us so that it covered all of the information that it needed to cover. It would have been hard pressed to do that on the fly. We will move on then. Next, we have a letter from Madonna House Apostolate dated August 2020 regarding a road allowance, and I will ask Mr. Larbetsky to speak to this letter.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Once again, this is a road allowance leading to water from directly across Perrier Road down to the Madawaska River. A unique situation. The subject road allowance is bisected by a wetland, and in this particular case, it would pose the same problem if the applicant would offer an alternative means of access to the municipality, to the Madawaska River. So I think as Councillor Schulis in the previous and Councillor Bromwich stated, quite adamant to protect road allowances leading to water. One of the other things that I can add to this particular situation is that Madonna House have buildings that are currently encroaching on the first portion of the road allowance just directly off the county road across from Perrier Road. And I believe that at one point we're thinking of doing improvements to those buildings, but our policy is that we do not issue building permits unless you are the owner of the land. There are other options if council, whatever council chooses to do, that an encroachment agreement could be possibly done relating to the area where the buildings are located to allow for Madonna House to be able to obtain a building permit to do any improvements to any buildings located thereon. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick question. Is there any cost to an encroachment agreement?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, there would be. It would have to be prepared by a lawyer. And if I may, we just recently entertained such an agreement right in Combermere for Ray and Paula passed away. That was a road allowance leading to water, and there was the encroachment of a well, and I think some other things that were unique to that one. And the development agreement, or sorry, encroachment agreement was prepared by the law firm of Howe and Bradley, and it gets registered on title, and it has a life term. I think it can't be any longer than 21 years, but that's all built into the encroachment agreement, which gets registered against the road allowance, but allows the applicant, in this case Madonna House, to use that portion of the road allowance. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and just one final point then, an encroachment agreement can be renewed, can it not, at the end of the term?
Yes, that is correct. And we have done, as was the case with the Pastway one, that has existed for more than 60 years and has been renewed. And at that point in time, they were only doing it on a 10-year basis. But I think under the Planning Act, you are allowed to have an encroachment agreement for 21 years less a day to abide by the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you. So there is an alternative to selling the road allowance, the unopened road allowance that unfortunately does lead to water in this case. Is there any questions from council of Mr. Lurbetsky on this item? Councilor Raplinski, is your hand up? I'm struggling. And your mic is off again. Councilor Raplinski, I can't hear you. Councilor Raplinski, your mic is off again. Sorry.
How's that? A little better?
That's much better. Thank you.
I got gremlins playing with my unit here. We already have precedents here how to deal with situations like this for obvious reasons. And I think the encroachment agreement would be the way to go. And I'm sure the cost of the legal fees would be very minimal in the case. But it would certainly allow the Madonna House people to do whatever necessary repairs to that particular building. So I would be all in favor of granting it in that case.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council on this at this point? Okay, now we do have Mr. Klein here, and he, I believe, is he a representative of Madonna House? Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, now with council's indulgence, we could allow him to, if he has a comment on what we're suggesting, which I'm taking from council is an encroachment agreement. Would council agree that we would invite Mr. Klein to partake in our discussion at this point?
Yes, please.
I'm not seeing any objectors to that. So Mr. Klein, we don't have your video on. I'm not sure whether Gwen can invite you to turn it on. We can hear you, but not see you.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, that should do it.
Hi there.
Okay, great. Welcome. So you heard what council is suggesting, because we do have a bylaw that it isn't easy to address the selling of this particular road allowance to Madonna House because it does lead to water. I'm wondering if you could provide us with your thoughts on the possibility of going with an encroachment agreement.
We're fine with that. Our main concern is this building does need to be repaired and kept up to, so it doesn't fall apart actually. So yeah, that would be fine with us. So that would require us to get a lawyer to look to settle the encroachment agreement.
Yes, I'm fairly certain we could probably provide a sample. Could we not, Mr. Lurbetsky, of an encroachment agreement?
Yes, we can. And if I may, I believe that Madonna House have utilized the services of the firm of Howe and Bradley, and Mr. Howe did prepare the encroachment agreement for the past ways. So he already has a precedence that he could incorporate your request into, and I'm sure he would be able to help you out with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that you don't have to start from scratch, which is great.
That sounds great.
All right, so if we were to proceed with that, then I guess I would need a motion. Do I need a motion at this point, or would you prefer to prepare the agreement and bring it to council? Sue, you had your hand up.
Yes, I do have a motion for council to consider.
Thank you.
That council approves that the applicant be given the opportunity to submit for an encroachment agreement to be registered on title, to allow for any improvements required to be made to the buildings located on a portion of the road allowance.
Okay, so you've heard the motion, council. Could I get a mover for that, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so council is willing to entertain the encroachment agreement, Mr. Klein. So if you wanted to proceed, that would be fantastic. We want to make sure you can fix your buildings. And so this is a good alternative solution for both of us, I think.
That's very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for attending. And if you choose to leave at this point, we will not be offended.
Okay.
But you're welcome to stay. All right, you take care.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Click there and take off the video. And Mike.
Okay. perhaps we could have that particular Mr. Klein's participation muted at this point. I don't know if Gwen can do that.
I did want to note that even Gwen is having some issues signing in and signing out. So like it did kick her out a few minutes ago. So there may be
Oh.
some issues
Okay.
with YouTube as well.
Okay. All right. No, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that if they'd gone off to do something, we weren't going to end up overhearing their conversations. So that's been resolved. Thank you, Gwen. I appreciate everything you're doing in the background. I know that it's like air traffic control in your office dealing with all this. Okay, so we have a good resolution to that one. We'll move on to a letter from Howe and Bradley dated August 14th, 2020 regarding an application by Stevenson to purchase the shoreline road allowance along the Madawaska River. And I will again turn it over to Mr. Lerbetsky just to speak to the letter that was received.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the letter was self-explanatory. The Stevenson Lodge people are wanting to, I believe, discontinue the lodge operation and are planning on subdividing the subject property into possibly, I think, 6 or 7 parcels of land. And in order to accommodate some of the area requirements, I believe they've taken the steps to consider acquiring the shoreline road allowance that is currently abutting the Stevenson Lodge property. But they have gone one step further, as council may have appreciation. The Lower Craigmont Road is not a full 66-foot width road. The surveyor has established a road, a 33-foot to the center line road widening. They can't speak for land that's on the other side, so it may not turn out to be a full 66-foot road width, but are willing to convey to the municipality that strip of land as a road widening to Lower Craigmont Road. And in my past dealings with such situations, there was, I think the letter intent was that there would be just an exchange of the shoreline road allowance for that strip of land. And past council in 2013, which I have provided a sample of the minutes and what turned out with respect to a property that was located on Long Lake, which was formerly known as Greenwood Lodge, coincidentally, to exchange land for a portion of widening of the old Barry's Bay Road. So in order for it be equitable to both parties, rather than doing a linear foot exchange, $8 per foot, it was decided that an area calculation would be done versus the shoreline road allowance and the land that was being acquired, so that it was equitable and fair to both the applicant as well as to the municipality. So that is all I have to comment on this letter. Thank you, Madam.
Okay, thank you. So as council will recall, we have done exchanges in the past of forced roads. I will refer to Chippewa Road, which a section of which was forced road, and we're in the throes of exchanging foot for shoreline in that particular case. But the reason why we're using a linear measurement is because the exchange represents a full width of the road allowance. So the road we are receiving at Chippewa is the same as the road allowance we're exchanging. As Mr. Lerbetsky said, in this particular case, where it's a much narrower strip that the municipality would be acquiring, then it's done based more on a calculation of area, I believe. I think I got that correct, have I not?
Yes,
I'd like to verify. We had a little discussion yesterday to make sure that we were consistent, and this would be consistent in this particular case where it is not a full width of the road allowance that we're actually acquiring. We also had some discussion about survey costs, and I wish Mr. Kachkowski was on to speak to this, because where it is something that the municipality wants, we do tend to pay the survey cost for the road portion, but the applicant would be paying the survey cost for the shoreline road allowance. But we don't have Mr. Kuchkowski on, so I can't confirm that at this point. Does council have any questions from Mr. Larbetsky on this proposal? Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. My question is, I'm quite familiar with the Craigmont Road and I realize that it's very narrow at one particular point, and that's the area of discussion. Really, what are we actually exchanging it for? A little more clarification on that, I think. I'm just a little bit unsure as to what are we exchanging it for. Because there's a significant amount of shoreline along the entire property. I don't know if that's a fair question or not, but I would just like to have some clarification.
Okay, and I think the reason why in this particular case we would not be exchanging linear foot for linear foot is because what we would be gaining for the road is not of a consistent width as the shoreline is. So what we would be exchanging was, there would be a calculation of the area of road that we would be getting. So that it's something like 10 feet wide in most areas. So they would calculate the area that we're getting, and then it would offset an area on the shoreline. But there would probably be significant additional shoreline that would need to be purchased once that area was sort of negated out of the exchange. Am I making sense? Am I saying it in a way that makes sense? Councillor Poplinski, are you?
No, I think you've got it. You've got it right on. And now I just wanted to hear somebody say that. And
Okay.
Because it is a significant piece of shoreline, and I'm sure they're prepared to realize that it's a pretty valuable piece of property. And however, there's some things, some housekeeping that needs to get done to make it so. And I think that it's certainly in our favor if we can have additional room on that road to maintain it. And for any prospective investors or whatever down the road, I think it's a real plus for the whole township. So I would be in favor of doing this exchange and just carrying on as you are. So thank you.
Okay, so do we have a motion, Sue, to do this exchange based on the area? I don't know how we want to word that. Sue?
For consideration, that council agrees to the exchange of land between Stevenson Lodge and the Township of Madawaska Valley with respect to Lower Craigmont Road. And further, that council advised staff to follow the same calculation process with respect to the value and area of the land to be exchanged, as was previously established with a property located along Long Lake / Old Berries Bay Road. And further, that survey and registration costs of these respective areas be determined as was previously established between the municipality and the applicant.
Okay. Council's heard that motion. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. Is there any discussion on the motion? Everyone's very comfortable that it's clear? Okay, I'm not seeing any concerns, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so that gives good direction on that item. We are moving forward, gentlemen. We have no new business today, but we do have unfinished business that was added to the agenda when we amended it. It's the Old Berries Bay Road update, and I'm imagining Sue is going to give the update since we have Sue here.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. I asked to speak to this, just to advise council that notice was given of the passing of the bylaw to decrease the speed of motor vehicles from statutory speed limits on the Old Berries Bay Road. And it was to reduce the speed on the Old Berries Bay Road. And it was to come to council at today's meeting. The operations manager advised it will be prepared for September 1st. But notice has been given of this.
Okay, so it is proceeding, but the bylaw will actually come to us at our next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, any questions or comments on that from council? That's just to make you and the public aware of that point. It didn't vanish, it is proceeding. Okay, thank you. Our next item is an in-camera session. The recommendation is that the meeting enter in-camera session to discuss matters pertaining to the security of the property of the municipality or local board, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Chapter 25, Section 239, 2A, B, and F. Number 1 will be the special council meeting minutes in camera of August 4th, 2020. Number 2, Lakewoods Resort Development Incorporated update report. Number 3, William Instance Legal Counsel regarding shoreline road allowance dispute, file number 76930. Number 4, Wishart Law Firm update regarding court file number CV-19-00082269-0000. And number 5, staff-related human resource update for the fire department. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Schulist. All those in favor? And that's carried. We are in camera, and I will wait until Gwen